Good morning and welcome to Bravo 22 Live and to our YouTube channel. This is made possible by the Royal British Legion and the wonderful guys at the Drive Project. I'm Graham Limb, and for those that don't know me, I'm a Bravo 22 alumni, and I've been a member of Bravo for about 3-4 years. I've taken part in many projects, including major art and theatre projects and many little workshops, and also been lucky enough to spend time in Belgium on a writing course. Could I ask you to press the thumbs up and to smash the bell to subscribe? That'd be wonderful. And also, if you'd like to share us on our social media and get our word across far and wide. Today is Graphic Art Part 2, brought to you by the same people who brought same as Graphic Arts Part 1, funny enough. In a minute, I'm going to hand you over to Nic Watts and Al Johnson. Nic is an illustrator and is creator of graphic books, and Al Johnson is a director of art for Bravo 22. She will be in discussion with Nic today. If you have any questions, please do ask for Al or Nic, and I'll be happy to ask away. So without further ado, is Al and Nic.
Thank you, Graham. That's lovely beginning. And very welcome. Very big welcome to Nic Watts. Tell us about yourself and what you're going to show us this morning.
Hi Al, and thanks Graham. Yeah, my name's Nic Watts. I'm an illustrator. I've been drawing pictures for a living for about the last 20 years. And today I'm going to talk to you about this book, which is TIMESLIDERS. It's a children's maze book. In which you travel through time forwards through ancient civilizations.
Wow, that sounds exciting. Can we see inside?
Yeah, of course. So I'll just tip my screen down.
Very interesting to see how.
Okay. So I think you should be able to see the front cover of the book here. So in this book, you play this character, the reader, and you're chasing this guy, Dr. Cryptix, through time. So it starts off with a comic spread like this, a bit different from the one I did my last session. It's all in colour, and this is Dr. Cryptix, and he disappears down a wormhole, and then the reader is caught up, and they get pulled along, dragged into the wormhole through time with Dr. Cryptix. And Dr. Cryptix's plan is to, of course, destroy the universe. And this is the first maze, which is set in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. So you find yourself here, and then you go through the maze. Don't go that way, go this way, all the way through the maze. And here we can see Dr. Cryptix. So that's the beginning of the maze, and then Dr. Cryptix is the end of the maze. And here he is disappearing down another wormhole to the next ancient civilization. So this is Knossos in ancient Crete, the first European civilization. And above we can see the amazing palace of Knossos.
It's really beautiful. It's very, very complicated, isn't it?
Yeah, these are some of the most complicated pictures I've ever painted or drawn.
Right. Well, maybe we can have a look at how you go about doing that in a moment. Are there any questions, Graham?
I've got some shout outs. So first of all, if we could say morning to John Robinson, Lorraine, Ian, Luke, Sally, Shirley. They're all watching this morning, and everyone else that's tuning in. So yeah, keep your questions coming in, please. Thank you. No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. So let's go back to Nic. So how do you get to that image? Because that's, we saw that it's quite complicated. Lots of different aspects going on there, aren't there? Lots of different things you need to figure out. How on earth do you do that?
Okay, yeah, no. I suppose one of the reasons that these are such complicated images is there's lots of research, but there's also a maze that has to be a proper maze, and it's quite difficult, but not too difficult. So if we bring up image number 2, we'll see one of my very early pencil roughs from my sketchbook. and some elements, as you can see, are similar to the final picture, but some elements are completely different. Like the maze part at the bottom, I've just made that up. I haven't worked that bit out yet. And then I'll go through a series of those pencil roughs. Each time trying to get it more and more accurate, more sophisticated, try to get the maze to work, try and get the angle, the perspective a little bit different. And as I work, I'll get different ideas and try and put those ideas into it. And then finally, when I'm happy with the pencil rough, I'll go to a full-size pencil, which takes a while. And then from there, I'll go straight to the ink. And if we bring up image number 3, you'll be able to see the final inked version that is done with a very fine black pen. So
you only ink the version up that once you're completely satisfied that's the final one.
Yeah, I have to be 100% happy with every element, because once I've committed to ink, I will go on to colour, and I don't want to. I can't really make any adjustments then.
Right. And how many versions do you think you do?
In the pencil roughs?
In the process, yeah.
It's hard to say. It depends on the image. It depends how clear my initial kind of like vision is. But it, you're talking at least 10, 15 quick sketches before you come on to like being happy with it and then working out the final pencil.
Because there's a lot of elements to consider there. The book you showed us last time, some people might have been watching that session, was black and white, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's black and white ink. Yeah.
So this is full color. So which is another whole set of challenges, I should think, for you. So how do you apply the color? You've got that inked image now, haven't you? How do you apply that?
I've got my inked image, and what I will do is I'll just tip my screen down. So here we've got this is just a printout of the ink. It's not the final ink. In the final thing, obviously, I would be using the final ink. This is the underground labyrinth of the Minotaur. I'll just swap that around. This is the underground labyrinth of the Minotaur. So what I decided to do was make this blue. Partly because that kind of gives you an impression of being underground, somewhere dark and scary. But we could have gone for greys, we could have gone for greens, but because it's a children's book, it has to be scary, but also has to be colourful and attractive. So I'll start working in with a rock colour that I've worked out, and you'll use. In the actual artwork, I used 6 different blues, 6 different versions of this blue color for the rock. But for today's purposes of just to illustrate the general idea, I'm just using 2 colors here. So I'll just spend time working in these rock colors, and then once you've got your rock cutters. Obviously, I've got a maze that's running through this, and I'll approach that with a slightly different color. I've got more of a, more of a greeny blue. So the rock's quite a reddy blue, but I'll go for more of a greeny blue to indicate to the reader of the book which area is a path and which area is rock.
So you're using the colours to sort of to help with the process of moving through the maze.
Yeah, I'm trying to lead and indicate to the reader of the book. You as an illustrator, you spend a lot of time trying to use visual clues or visual prompts to help the reader or the user of whatever I'm doing to understand what is going on, and just, generally just push people a little bit. Okay, so they may not in the front of their head be thinking, oh well, that's a path, or but that it just becomes kind of obvious, I guess.
Yeah, so it's a kind of set of visual clues, isn't it? So the drawing is part of it, and the colour is used as a way of explaining the image. What sort of paints do you use to colour up the images?
Okay, well, I'm using paints called Roscoe's, which are usually used in the theatre industry. They're super saturated paints. They give really, really intense, beautiful colours. And for children's books, what you want is like really intense, gorgeous, lovely colours. So they're very good, and I use them like watercolours, you can see here. But they're sort of halfway between a watercolour and an acrylic. Yeah, so those are the paints that I use.
Yeah, lovely. I'll carry on painting, Nick. Let's just see if there's any questions.
There is, yeah. Okay, so there's quite a few. Has Nick ever been in a real maze? And question from Sally-Ann.
Yes, I've been to Hampton Court Palace many, many years ago, I think on a school trip. So I have been to a real maze. I find them a bit scary. But I don't think it's necessary to have been to a real maze to draw mazes.
To design one.
And just as you do that, this is a good question. Do you ink over the pencil or create a new ink drawing? And it's from Luke.
Okay, so the process is I will scan into my computer the final pencil. Then I will put that I'll print that out just on normal copy paper, and then I will at full size. Then I'll get my light box, which is, if you imagine like what you have in a hospital where they have an X-ray on a light box on the wall. I have the same thing. Have one of those on my desk, and then I will trace through. So I have a final piece of paper that I put over the top of that, and I will trace through so I can see through. And then that will be the final piece that will be painted. So that's the process. That's how I create a final ink version.
There's a couple more questions, but I'll ask them later.
Okay. Lovely. So as you're painting, do you do research to work out the colours for the paints?
Yeah, like as I explained, for sections like I'm painting at the moment, it's more of a sort of conceptual thing to give someone a feeling or an impression. But for the colours in the above ground areas, if we bring up slide 5, you'll see some of the absolutely gorgeous artwork that was created by the Nossums. And, this could be a painting from today. It's absolutely wonderful. It's 4,000 years old, which I think is amazing. So I looked at a lot of, there's a lot of artifacts, bits of pottery, bits of painting that are left over from this civilization. So I would look at that. I'll look at that stuff, and I will start to use those as ideas for colours in the buildings and paintings on the walls. But then I'll also be looking at pictures of modern day Crete. It's a Mediterranean island. It has beautiful turquoise seas and lovely cypress trees and gorgeous blue skies, and that won't have changed in 4,000 years. So I'll also be looking at contemporary images of Crete and sort of drawing from that. So there's lots of research that goes on, but I try not to get too caught up in the research, because it's very easy to fool yourself and think you're working because you're looking a lot of research, but actually.
What about the design for the colours? So presumably you don't just start on the final colours. Do you work them out in advance?
Yeah, no, of course. you know, it takes a long time it takes a couple of days just to ink through on the light box, as I was asked earlier. So I don't want to mess that up. So what I do is, if we bring up slide 6, you'll see my color swatches. So there I can with those, I'm mixing up colors and I'm deciding on colors, and then I'm writing down the formulations of those colors. So maybe a green shade blue and a turquoise, or a Prussian blue, it's a black, it's white, to make a certain color. And that means that I can return to the painting days or weeks or even years later and still create those same colors. That's what I do. Yeah,
you do a rough, don't you, to work out the colors?
Yeah, if we look at slide 4, that will show you the color rough of the painting. And
so that's your completed sort of plan for the.
That's the completed plan. It's you know, some elements aren't painted in. Some elements I just paint on the hoof once I get there. But most of the sort of main elements, like the blues and the building colors and stuff like that, that's all painted at that point. So I'm 100% sure that I've got a plan for what I'm doing before I get into it.
Fantastic. Should we go back to Graham? See if there's any more questions coming.
There's quite a good, especially while you're concentrating on that painting. Do you ever get lost in your mazes? From Sally.
I think he's got lost now. We can't see him.
It's a very good question. I sometimes forget the routes of the mazes, but I have a little guide to let me know what the maze routes are.
That's the fun of the book, though, right?
That is the fun of the book. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, Crete is one of my all-time favourite places. It's amazing. So.
Yes,
and crazy to think that we were throwing stones at each other while they had a full civilization. Okay, so another question: does Nic plan some sort of roadmap or ideas before he starts drawing, or does it just come together as he starts drawing? Question from Shirley.
I do quite a lot of research for at the beginning, but you know, it's quite a creative thing. But you just start drawing, working out, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and it's just a process of like just trying to, you know, work out what works and what looks nice and what's visually pleasing. You know, a lot of it's about what's visually pleasing as well as what works as a maze and what works historically. So you've got a lot of elements you've got to take into account in each picture.
Well, and a final question, which is sort of rolls into that one, which is a technical question here, Lorraine. I notice you started to colour from the centre. Is this the same way you would draw subjects initially? Question from Lorraine.
It depends what I'm doing. If I'm starting on a pencil drawing, I'll be doing lots of different bits. If I'm doing an ink, I will tend to work from right to left because I'm left-handed. I work this way, but yeah, the paint dries pretty quickly, so you can see there it's all pretty quick. So I'm just sort of building up layers. So you do tend to be I'm not really kind of thinking I'm going to start in the middle and move out. It's more like I just build and build and build.
Brilliant.
So it's quite intuitive the way you would start to ink up, is it, or start to paint?
Yeah, I guess so. It is quite intuitive. You know, you're just trying to make something that's visually pleasing, but also, you know, works as a maze. And
yeah. Any more questions, Graham?
Got just one more from Ian. Is the motivation ever a problem?
That's a very good question.
To be honest, in the last few months, motivation has been a bit of a problem, but generally I'm highly self-motivated, and I'm very lucky that I can do this for a living. You know, it's very few people have such a nice job as me, I guess. So I don't find motivation a problem at all. No.
Brilliant. Right, no, that's back to you.
Lovely, thanks, Graham. Okay, Nic, you've been we haven't caught sight of you for ages.
Sorry,
We just
my
your
painting.
hand. It's wonderful. Very lovely to watch you painting. Actually, it's really it's very therapeutic. Actually, I know quite a lot of our people that are watching love to paint, and I think a lot of people find that there is a sort of relaxation in painting. Maybe not for you as a job, but maybe for us as amateurs. So show us how that looks now.
Okay. So that's what we've got. It might be a bit difficult to tell that the paths and the rock color are different. It looks slightly flat, but I will work into that again and again and again to get to a final image. Usually I wouldn't quite work that fast or loosely, but it's quite nice to work fast and loosely sometimes.
And how would you keep on layering the colours onto that? Can you add colours on top of each other?
Yeah, you'll build and build and build and build. But I think the thing with drawing, painting, any kind of like artistic pursuit is knowing when to stop.
Yeah.
Because often you can ruin something. You've got something that looks looking really good and really special. Keep working on it. So knowing when to just pull back and go, actually, that's done now. And sometimes that can be within a few minutes. Sometimes it's within hours or days.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the main sort of jobs of the artist is to know when to stop.
Yeah. Fantastic. I think having seen that process, and it is really, we've seen it's really long. It's quite complicated and quite lengthy, isn't it? Shall we have a look at that last or our first image again, the completed?
Yes. So if we bring up image number 1, now what you can see there is what I haven't spoken about is the final design. So once I've done painting and I've done this little comic strip at the bottom, I've got my picture of Dr. Cryptix. Those are all on different layers. They'll be sent to the designer. The designer will put them together. He'll put this border around. He'll put in the text, which has information, and make it all look beautiful and consistent with every page. So it'll be the designer will their job is to sort of make everything in the book look fantastic.
Well, it does. It's marvelous. How long does all that take?
Well, to paint per spread, to paint one of these spreads takes me about 5 weeks from the initial research, the sketches in the sketchbook, the final pencil, the ink, and then making the final painting. But yeah, so about 5 weeks. It's they're quite a big undertaking each spread.
Yeah, because they're very complex. And how long has the book taken?
I've been working on this book for a couple of years now, and hoping to have it published in 2021. But the book's now complete, and we're talking to publishers. So yeah, it's a big project, but very exciting.
Well, I think we might have some potential buyers amongst our viewers. So I hope so. That's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Nic. Have we got any questions just before we go?
Yeah, very quickly. I think more for just Nic in general. What's your favourite medium, and what's your favourite medium and piece of work you have made?
Well, I wouldn't want to say any of they're all my favorites. I love drawing. I'm a real drawer, so I guess my favorite medium is just pencil. But I also love painting by hand. I do some work on computer, but not really very much. The TIMESLIDERS books are very special because it was a real opportunity for me to kind of do some amazing paintings. But then the graphic novel we were talking about in the previous Toussaint Louverture was a really great opportunity to draw with biros. So you know, as I say, it's like every project is kind of like has its special qualities. So yeah.
I'll tell you what my favourite is, shall I? Nic did a drawing of where I live and where he used to live, from above, wasn't it?
Yeah,
a long time ago, and it was published in the Guardian recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's so brilliant because lots of people live locally, got really interested in, you know, how the area has changed, and yeah, so that's my favourite. It's very, very fine drawing. Thank you. Any more questions, Graham?
Yeah, quick one. It's really just something that someone said. Work reminds me of Mobius. Is he an inspiration? Question from Maria Holding.
Yeah, Mobius is a big inspiration of mine. A fantastic French cartoonist and writer. He did a book called The Inkle. It's a great honor to be like even mentioned in the same sentence as somebody like Mobius. So yeah, I guess I can see what you're talking about. It's kind of fantasy, sci-fi, you know. So yeah, but I've got lots of obviously I've got lots of artists who I really admire. But Mobius is definitely one of the best.
Well done, Maria, for noticing that. That's very good. And flattering our guest today.
Indeed.
Well, I think we'll stop. Thank you so much, Nic. That was fantastic. Really, really interesting insight into your work process, and look forward to seeing the book when it's published next year.
Thanks so much.
I imagine it's been a bit held up with the situation at the moment, but good luck with that. Thank you very, very much. It was brilliant.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Graham.
Thank you also for having me in your front rooms. Lovely to see you again, and I shall see you all again next week, I hope. And I'll hand you back to Graham. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Guys, wasn't that interesting? So thanks again, once again, to Nic, and I'll let's talk about next week. Next week on Tuesday, we've got theatre with a wonderful Lolota Chakrabarti and our very own Naris Pierce. And they will be on writing drama. And on Thursday, we'll have Al back, Al Johnson, and she'll be with my very good friend Ian Rudge, and they will be what were they on? Doing painting. Does it tell the truth? Does it? So that's great. If I could remind you all to like and share and pass on the good word, and also if we could ask you all to fill in your feedback forms, you'll probably get them in an email somewhere. That'd be wonderful. Apart from that, stay safe, stay healthy, have a good weekend. See you later.